Hi guys, I am here with EAC client Chris. Chris has made the journey over from England today. We've been working together just under 12 months, just the 11-month mark. And Chris has made some exceptional progress to his health, fitness, well-being, longevity. We're going to go through some of the stats and numbers now just to give you a lot more understanding of what's changed. Chris is going to talk a wee bit about what that's actually translated into in terms of his day-to-day life, what he's excited about going forward, and just how this whole journey and process has worked from starting point to where we're at today. So Chris, just for everybody watching, give everybody a bit of an understanding, just a bit about you, your career, what that's looked like, and just who you are.
Yeah, hi. So Chris, so I'm 58, so I'm married, 2 children who are in their early mid-20s now. So we've been through that journey together. I've essentially had I think a fairly normal career, and I've worked hard in a professional capacity, and all the way through from my early 20s through till middle of last year, when actually I retired. And I retired a couple of years earlier than I was intending to, but I think we'll come on to that. So I think I've had a pretty normal life in that regard. I've been through periods in the past where I've been pretty fit, and I've been through definite periods through my life when I've been very unfit. So we'll come on to that a little bit more.
So take me back, Chris, and give everybody watching a bit of context around what August 2025 and before then looked like. So we met each other August 2025. What was the run up to that like? What was the starting position? Where were you? What were you feeling?
Well, physically, I was in pretty bad shape. I retired because I got to the position where I'd got so fat and unfit, I didn't really have the capacity anymore to function at work and outside of work in anything like a decent capacity. So various reasons for that, which I think we can all have, but working really hard and a couple of nagging medical issues that I'd had for 4 or 5 years, which took my fitness back a long way, and I didn't manage very well. So I'd got myself into the position where even when I got over the medical stuff, I didn't have the capacity, or I felt I didn't have the capacity to exercise and change my lifestyle whilst working, because by the time I'd finished working, I was really done for the day, and it was difficult to find capacity to fit the two together.
Yeah, I think when we had first started talking, I was very aware of how much you had worked hard in terms of your career, setting yourself up in terms of family, being able to look after them, provide them with a certain type of lifestyle as well, and the cost that was maybe involved with that, the early mornings, the late evenings, working weekends, putting the shoulder to the wheel to get things done when they need it done, and in a demanding role, it's fair to assume as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So the turning point, Chris, what changed in how you started to approach your health when we started working together? What did that start to look like when we had our assessment? We started to have conversations around where we wanted to get to. What changed for you around that?
I was really determined to make a big change to my health and fitness. That's why I retired just a little bit earlier, maybe a year or so more than I wanted to, but I wasn't really confident that it was achievable. Because it had gone so far, I wasn't sure how far I could get it back, or better than I'd been before. And so to begin with, I was really happy to just sort of hand myself over and say, I'll do this your way. But I had no idea whether it would work or not, really.
Yeah, I remember that first conversation I had with you, Chris. It was on Microsoft Teams, and we were talking about your starting point. We were talking about what you wanted to get from the program, how that would all work. And it's probably fair to say at that point there maybe wasn't a lot of belief yet in the system because we hadn't started. We obviously hadn't begun to start making progress. There wasn't feedback, and we were only really getting the chance to know each other. But to see what has actually changed over the last 11 months, which is a relatively short time frame, you know, when people think about the accumulation of bad choices that people make that have a negative impact on their health, it's usually over a much longer time horizon, 5, 10, 15, 20 years of choices. And when you think what you've done in 11 months, and this has been through your effort, your consistency, your ability to be coachable, take on information and execute, it's been pretty remarkable. I want to get into the numbers now and talk a bit more about that. So the starting point was obviously we'd finished work and we're very keen to make the most of having more freedom in a sense. Kids were growing up, a bit more time on your hands. You've obviously been a keen person for traveling, for cycling, for snowboarding, for skiing, and we wanted to maximize that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to talk about the experiences, because one of the things that was upsetting me really at the time was I couldn't sail my boat when it was really windy, my dinghy, and I was really compromised in my snowboarding, and I felt terrible on my bicycle. So, you know, those were big objectives.
So that was sailing, snowboarding, and cycling, 3 things that you told me about that you wanted to get back, not even doing, but starting to compete and progress and get better at as well. And I often think about retirement when men get to that stage or females get to that stage. You want to be in a position to do the activities that excite you, that fulfill you, that give you happiness, that allow you to connect with others, connect with yourself, and have something to work on and improve on. So the numbers, we have just finished an assessment session. So we've done multiple assessment sessions with Chris since he's been on the program, and we've just got his most up-to-date numbers, and the data has been exceptional. I have no problem saying this has been one of the best processes, transformations that I've been involved with, and you don't get Chris's progress unless you have somebody that executes the way Chris has executed. And to get that type of feedback, to see the data trend, and ultimately understand how the numbers have impacted Chris on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, has been exceptional. So I'm going to run you through some of the numbers now. So back when we started, Chris, your body weight at its peak was 133.3 kilograms. Our lowest body weight to date has been 97.2 kilograms, which has been a reduction of 36.1 kilograms, which is an exceptional amount of body weight. You're a numbers man, so we've taken quite a chunk off your body weight. How's that felt, first of all, the body weight change?
It is massive. You become a completely different person. From feeling unsafe climbing a ladder to being able to just run up and down and not think about it. You know, through to all your sports, through to getting out of bed in the morning, through to just running around the house, picking things up. As well as feeling like you've just got capacity, you've got energy, just to live a life, let alone sports.
Yeah, sometimes when I say that 36.1 kilograms, I have to find myself saying it again to believe it, because it's such a vast amount of weight, and for you to have done that in 11 months and to see you sitting here now versus when we started in that team's call just over 11 months ago, it's exceptional. Body fat percentage, Chris's starting point was 39.4%. Today we had a body fat percentage check-in of 21.4%, so an overall reduction of 18% body fat, which is a significant chunk again for that time frame. Chris's body fat mass started at 50.5 kilograms, and today we had a 21.3 kilogram update, a reduction of 29.2 kilograms of fat. The visceral fat area for me, Chris, is definitely the most impressive. We started at 250 centimeters squared, which is a level 25, and we had our check-in today at 107.8 centimeters squared, which is a level 10. So we've reduced your visceral fat by 60%. So for anybody watching this doesn't understand this, visceral fat is the fat that surrounds your internal organs. It raises the possibility of a lot of nasty diseases by very high percentages. It's often a measurement and a proxy for how well somebody has lived and the choices that they have accumulated. So body fat percentage, body fat mass, visceral fat area, visceral fat level down from a 25 to a 10. How do them numbers sink in for you, Chris?
It sinks in when you see the video. So you've got a really scary video on what visceral fat is and what it does, and you can feel it. You can really, because sometimes you don't realise how big your belly is because you're just feeling the outside of your belly, and you realise that the stuff that's hard underneath that fat is another layer of fat, and that's pretty eye-opening.
Skeletal muscle mass, and this is one of the most exceptional things again about Chris's data. All of it is exceptional, but when you understand this, we went through a fat loss phase where Chris completely changed his body in terms of visceral fat and body fat mass, but Chris also added 0.3 kilograms of muscle to his body. So we didn't sacrifice quality of muscle mass, which is so important for longevity reasons, for aesthetic reasons, for males wanting to remain in great shape. We actually added muscle as we reduced that body fat mass and visceral fat. Chris's InBody score went from 56 points to 86 points, so it increased by 30 net points. 56 points, Chris, I think I remember telling you this was one of the lowest scores I'd ever seen. But at 86 points now, that puts you in the top 2% for males at your demographic globally when compared to a healthier percentile. So for that increase as well, to go up 30 points in 11 months is exceptional, and the numbers prove that as well. InBody Age, we've taken 5.8 years of Chris's metabolic age, so how his body is aging. His VO2 Max started at 25.3. So for anybody that doesn't understand, VO2 Max is a measurement of how well somebody's heart, lungs, and lower body is performing. It is one of the key KPI longevity markers. Chris has now a VO2 Max as of today at 52.3, which places him in one of the top percentiles for males of his age as well. That number in itself has over doubled. It's an absolutely exceptional marker to understand how well his cardiovascular system is performing. And we both still feel like we've got room to improve that number even further, which is exciting. And Chris's grip strength places him in the top 5%. Just going through them numbers, Chris, as we finish with the numbers, how do they all feel right now?
They feel really good. I think the one that is the biggest learning from the program actually is how to keep your muscle mass and to improve your strength whilst losing weight. And that means that you exit a weight loss phase healthier as well as thinner than when you started. That was something I had no clue how to do beforehand. In fact, I'd lost a little bit of weight before we started the program, which was one of the big reasons why I bought in so strongly, because you measured me a little bit before we started in August, and over those couple of months before the start of August, I actually lost about 7 kilos just my own way. And I felt really good about it. And then I came in and my fat percentage had increased and my muscle mass had decreased. And yeah, I'd lost 7 kilos and I was feeling really good about it. And then I realized that it was mostly muscle and my fat hadn't moved at all. And I was on a really bad way of losing weight, but getting really unhealthy. And that was a real learn.
Just to finish off, Chris, what would you tell another male business exec, business leader at your age who early, mid, late 50s, they have pushed hard for 30 years in the corporate world, building a business, running a business, being part of a team, they've raised a family, and they are potentially thinking, my health is declining and this is just the way it is. What would you tell that person based on where you were 11, 12 months ago to where you're at now?
I think there's a lot of learnings I've been through, and like anybody in this position, I haven't got it all right along the way, but I think a really big one, couple is how you start. And I think, like I said earlier, you've really got to hand over and forget what you know, because only half of it's right and half of it's wrong, and just hand over and make a big commit to the program. And you've got to clear all the barriers out of the way to start with. So make sure you're on the apps, you've got the kit, you're a member of the gym, you tell everybody what you're going to do.
Yep.
You make a big commitment to it. The biggest advantage I had was time,
Yep.
because I cleared my life out completely to do this. But even if I was at work, I would get all of that stuff done, maybe do a few little preparatory exercises in the gym, get going, so that on day one of the program, I am absolutely ready to go, and nothing's going to knock that early commitment, that early enthusiasm to one side.
Oh.
And then ideally, I would take a week or two off work. It sounds drastic to do, but actually that's a big reset, and you will get fully into the program while you're doing it. And you've got to commit really hard for the first couple of months. You'll start to see some benefits quicker than that, but you've got to take that big run up where you're really changing what you do and treat it like a project. And then after a couple of months, you'll see enormous differences. And the motivation will follow from that. You will carry on with the program because you've seen what it's already done to you. But for that first couple of months, you don't know how it's going to work out in reality.
Yep.
And so you've got to commit really hard to it from the outset and give it, 100% chance of being successful. And then, as I say, you'll see the results, log everything so that you know exactly what's happened and you're accountable, even if it's bad. Yep. And then carry on for there. But don't give yourself any excuses in the first few months.
No. I think all of that, Chris, is bang on the money. And what I would say to you is just how coachable you were in the program, but also how you still had moments where you would like to question things and understand things more, which as a coach I love, because it lets me know that you're serious and you're bought into the program, and you're not just, taking my word as God's gospel. In a sense, you're actually saying, what about this? What about that? Have you thought about this in terms of where I'm at? And that type of engagement for me, when I get that, I know we're going to be successful, because I know there's a level of buy-in that matters and that person's taking it serious. And just to finish us off, Chris, I just want to say, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you to date. I'm excited about the current trajectory that we're on, where we're going to finish up, and all the things that we've got planned for your health and performance. To think of the progress and the numbers, it's been exceptional, but getting to work with you as a person has been exceptional as well. And I'm excited for where we're going forward.
Yeah, me too. It's been great. Thank you.
Right. Good.